Basically, we are missing a siman in the Shulchan Aruch of the Alter Rebbe. We're missing certain simanim. One of the Talmidim of the Alter Rebbe, his name was Nehemiah Ginsburg. In those days, people weren't really known as much by their last names, although they had already started to have last names. But they were known. He was known as a Nehemiah Dubrovna from the city of Dubrovna. So Nehemiah was a very great Talmud Chacham. He wrote his own Svarim, and however, he also wrote Ha'aretz notes on the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. And in a few situations, he made what's called a hashlama to the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch when the Shulchan Aruch Harab is missing. Certain simanim were missing because they were lost, they were burned, so we don't have those simanim. There are a number of them that he was mashlim, he completed them on his own. So he wrote on his own those simanim.
And they were makabel, they were accepted.
For the most part, yeah. For the most part they were accepted. And the hashlama is in the back of this print. I don't see that the other prints have it in the back. I thought they would have it. So in the back there's a siman Tov Kuf Pei Aleph. Siman Tov Kuf Pei Beis starts discussing the halachas of Rosh Hashanah itself. The Seder, Vaseres Yemei Tshuva, and Rosh Hashanah, at the Kodesh. Before that is a small siman Tov Kuf Pei Aleph in Shulchan Aruch, which discusses Chodesh Elul, in the Inyan of Tekiyah Shofar and Elul. So on that siman he wrote a small siman with a very long hilpah on the bottom to explain one of the shittas that he mentioned in the inside. We'll take a look inside, and we'll say it out loud. Not everyone has a copy. This is a hashlama the siman Tov Kuf Pei Aleph. He was known as the Divrei Nehemiah because that's the way he called his svarim, his tshuvas were called tshuvas Divrei Nehemiah. In the Vilna Shas that was printed later on, versions of the Vilna Shas printed in Vilna have his hagoyis, his notes also on the Shas. There were some notes of his also on Shas. Berish Chodesh Elul Ola Moshe Rabbeinu Ola Vashal Lahar Sinai Lekabel Luchis Achreinis. We know that Moshe Rabbeinu spent a while in Shemayim. Even when he was down here, he was in Shemayim, but he actually was up in Shemayim and not here for 120 days. For the first 40 days before, right after Matan Torah, when he came down with the first set of luchas, the luchas of Rishonis. However, he broke the luchas of Rishonis when he came down and he saw the Chet Egel happening. Then he went back up after he dealt with the Yidden and Klal Yisrael, punished those who needed to be punished, and dealt with the situation down here. He went back up to ask Hashem not to destroy Klal Yisrael, because Hashem had said that I will make my nation from you. I will, in order for me to mekayim my shvuah that I gave to the Avis, that I'm going to take Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael, I'll do it through your descendants, through you. But I'll wipe out Chas v'shalom the rest of Klal Yisrael. So Moshe Rabbeinu pleaded with the Eibishter for 40 days until the Eibishter took it back. Those are known as the Mem Yomim Hamtsoyim, the middle intermediate 40 days. Boyim Yomim Hamtsoyim. Then he went back up for the last 40 days. The last 40 days were from Rish Chodesh Elul until Yom Kippur. That was to not just that Yidden shouldn't be destroyed, but Yidden should have slicha or mechila and be able to receive the luchei shniyas. And that was the last 40 days from Rish Chodesh Elul, 30 days, and then 10 days of Tishrei. And Yom Kippur, Hashem said, Salachti kidvarecha, I've forgiven you as you have asked. And he gave him the second luches, which are actually had much more Torah than the first luches came with it. He gave him with it and much more Yanim. And that was the full slicha, and that's why the day of Yom Kippur is actually the day that was set up L'chol Hadoros for all generations as a Yom Slicha Mechila, because that was the original date of the first Slicha Mechila for Klal Yisrael.
The second Luchot wasn't written the same Anochi Hashem, Lo Tetzah.
Yes, but together with it, Baal Peh, Moshe received a lot more parts of Torah that Hashem did not give him with the first on Baal Peh. We had much more Torah Shemal Peh with the second one. So Yishchodesh Elul, all Moshe Rabbeinu Val Shalom, Moshe Rabbeinu went up on Yishchodesh Elul, I seen the Kabbal Luchas Achronis. Amad Shem, he remained there, Mem Yom, for 40 days. And the Sanat HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Yisrael Avin Egel, Hashem forgave them. V'yad and Moshe B'Yom Kippur. Ba'aluchis b'yad, the luchis were in his hand. Ubisa the Yisrael, he notified Klal Yisrael the good news, and the Sanat Ufnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they are forgiven. Uboy B'yem, in that day, Nemerlei, in that very day itself, Moshe was told, Salachti Kidvarecha. That's we start off Yom Kippur. The first tefillah called Nidre, we start off with the words Vayem Hashem Salachti Kidvarech. V'kovei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem set up the day as a Yom Slicha Mechil L'Doiris for all generations. Shenemer Ki Bayoyim Hazeh, on this day Yichaper Aleichem, Goyim Hashem will forgive you. Al Kain, therefore, Kol Yisrael Abayim, all those 40 days Mirish Chodesh El Ad Yom Kippur, Hem Yimei Ratzon, their days of Ratzon, meaning Hashem. There are days of special days of an Eis Ratzon, because Hashem desires in us in these 40 days. V'uzman mucha l'tshuva, it's a time special for tshuva. Al kol mashachata u'pagam b'chol hashana. Whatever one sinned or blemished throughout the year. Lefichach, therefore, minig kadmoinim, the minig is of the early ones, was a tkoye b'shoifer b'chol chodesh Elul, was to blow shofar throughout the month. Achar atfila, after davening, kidei la'oyer, in order to awaken al-hazi Yisrael, caution Klal Yisrael sheyas tshuva. Ki koil ha-shofar, the sound of the shofar, goyrim lahachrid ha'om ha'odom mipachad Hashem v'ha'ada goyni. It gives a certain trembling, a fear of Hashem. It's not a very sweet sound. Wakes you up, the sound of the shofar. Kamesha Kosav, like the Navi writes, Im yitaka shofar b'ir v'am lo yichradu. If someone will just blow a shofar in a city, will the nation not tremble? What's happening? Why is the shofar being blown? That's one reason. Further reason, v'gama yidei koil ha-shofar mis'arver v'satan, through the shofar, hearing the shofar, the satan gets confused. V'lo yastina Yisrael, he will not be able to prosecute against Klal Yisrael. He will remember his day of judgment in the future. Mashiach will come. He will be swallowed up forever. The Malach, the Satan. It says, the Navi says, on that day, a great shofar will be blown.
Yamanite Shofar.
That's the second reason why we blow shofar. Because a shofar is a remembrance of his day of the Mavis, his day when he will disappear. So it's he becomes weakened. So shvach, people become weakened when they think about Yom HaMisa. So when he hears this, it's a reminder for him. V'gam, furthermore, ayidei shetoikim b'chol hachodesh. Through that we blow the whole Chodesh. It's not clear when is Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah we blow shofar. So we keep on blowing and blowing and blowing, so the Satan gets confused.
Every year you get confused.
The old question, what's pshat that the Satan gets confused? We do a number of things to confuse the Satan. We also don't bench Beis Chodesh Tishrei, Shabbos of and we don't bench it. We don't take the Sefer Torah and say Misha Beirach, Misha Asa Nisim, and the Shchodesh, because we're also going to confuse the Satan. He's getting confused. He's a malach. He knows what's happening.
He's learning to say it. Didn't learn
So, different pshatim, what this means. The Rebbe gave a certain pshat based on certain lashonos of Rashi, and that the Satan knows, but when the Satan sees Klal Yisrael are mechavev the mitzvah, and even before Rosh Hashanah, a whole month we're blowing shofar, we're getting ready doing tshuva. So pshat is that he doesn't have, in that pshat he doesn't know when the day of Rosh Hashanah is on the calendar. But it's very hard for him, he loses his footing as a prosecuting angel when he sees that Klal Yisrael are going beyond the law and doing extra minhagim in Yonam of tshuva. So he what's he going to say? What's he going to tie that? They did bad things, okay, but look how they're acting now. So similarly also it says one of the reasons why we blow shofar twice on Rosh Hashanah, Tkiyas Meyushav, before Kiyas HaTorah, and Tkiyas moment on the Seder of the Brachis, Malchis, Zechayim Shofar during Musaf. Really, the ones that we blow, Malchis, Zechayim Shofar, that's the Iker Takana. That we blow earlier was originally set up in order something to confuse the Satan again, that before we come to the Tefillah of Musaf, which is the most important Tefillah of the day, we have the special Barachis, Malchis, Zechayim and Shofars. He should be confused before. So you blow a set of tkiyas before. Those tkiyas actually, according to most days, are also min ha-Torah, those tkiyas. But why were their additional tkiyas, why were they moved earlier, was because la'arva satan. So all these things to confuse the satan. So from some Nishayim it seems to be, it's a vart of chivav mitzvah. Since Klal Yisrael not only toikin, the Gemara's lashon is Amar Rabbi Yitzchak in Rosh Hashanah Daf Tazayin, lama toikin umeriyin kishein yoishvin, utoikin umeriyin kishein oimdin, miyushiv, me'umed. So the Gemara says kidei la'arva satan. When the satan sees that Klal Yisrael are going way and beyond what they need to do, Rosh Hashanah they're going the extra, and they're blowing another 30 kelis. So what's he going to say? L'payel, the Klal Yisrael are returning back to Hashem, and they're doing everything they could. They're sitting in shul so long, so he loses his tightness.
I think the most thing that he loses how from the Jews, because in Israel 7 hours different, in Australia it's 15 hours different. Here is so you see all over. He doesn't know when.
Okay.
Well, but there is a story of the Alter Rebbe who blew the shofar
Earlier. Yeah. That's not the regular Seder of things. That was a special Rebbe's idea in order to win the war over that the Tsar, helped the Tsar win over Napoleon. Right. So there were different tzaddikim during the time, the ending of Alter Rebbe's lifetime. There was a big war between Napoleon was trying to conquer the world, and Napoleon was fighting the Tsar, and he was winning, and he was really deep into Russia. The famous war, there's even many paintings from that time period you could see depicting the war. And there were different tzaddikim on different sides that held different shittas as to who would be better for Klal Yisrael, who should win. And it was a very bad time. And some tzaddikim held Napoleon was better, for Napoleon should win, the Koshas Magid and other tzaddikim. And the Alter Rebbe held that the Tsar should win. And the Alter Rebbe's reasoning was that the other tzaddikim held that Napoleon is is much better for Klal Yisrael because he said there's going to be emancipation, there's going to be freedom, and no longer under a rulership of freedom of religion, and you're going to be able to practice freely under the Tsar, under Russia, quality of life and different things will be better. Mashenkin the Tsar was the quality of life would be better, the Gashmis would be better. However, the Alter Rebbe was concerned that with all the freedom that Napoleon will bring freedom from religion. That all the haskell and enlightenment that he was bringing would break down all barriers, and all different types of discussions and opinions and lifestyles would come out. Like we have in America and who knows different places when liberal thinking came in, and that Alter Rebbe felt that even though the Gashmis would be better for Klal Yisrael under Napoleon, but Ruchnis would be better under the Tsar. Therefore, he did all his pu'ulis as a Rebbe, Ruchnistic things to help, and not only Ruchnistic things, Akadei Kach, he held that Napoleon was a very big klippa, and a Kishuv Macher, someone like a Kishuv, the Alter Rebbe had sent one of his chassidim to help spy on Napoleon. He knew a lot of languages, and the story is told over by chassidim. And Napoleon, he was a translator. Napoleon once felt that there was a spy, and he came. He went over to him. He walked into the room right away, put his hand on him, and said, "You're a spy," and he wanted to feel his heart. So later on, and then he took it off and he let him go. This Moshe Meislish, he later on said that the Alter Rebbe had taught him, "Moyich shalat alev," your mind has to rule your heart, and he controlled his heart, and it should beat regular, and that's how he was saved. And his Lamaisa, the Alter Rebbe actually penned. He even Napoleon was coming in closer, and Alter Rebbe, he knew that who were his enemies. He wasn't. He was a brilliant man. He knew who his enemies were and which cities he's coming. He had his spies and scouts, and the Alter Rebbe had to run. So the Alter Rebbe took a ton of wagons with all his family members and close chassidim, and it was the middle of the winter, and he went and took to running away from his town of Liadi. He lived in Liadi later on in life, city of Liadi, and it was very hard traveling. And the Alter Rebbe, the winter, the cold, bitter cold, and traveling in the Russian, there's no eating, no nothing. You're going in the wagons. It took to him. And on the way, he used to have that he would every once in a while there'd be a fork, a road, we didn't know where to go. The Alter Rebbe would come out, lean on his cane, think for a while, and then tell them which way to go. It was a Rebbe trip. But at one point, he told his grandchild a certain way to go. The Poyel's grandchild made a mistake, and they went the other way, and the Alter Rebbe was very unhappy. And the Alter Rebbe, and then he got very sick on the journey because it took them further away from their. They had to go back, and
He sent someone back for his slipper.
That was another point, yeah. And he went to. The Alter Rebbe was nifter on this trip, and then they had to find a burial place for him because they're in the middle of nowhere. There's no Yiddish Beis HaChaim, and they had to travel. There's just a few. The family remained where they were, and just a few people went with the Alter Rebbe. Took him to the close, because he was nifter in the town of Piena, village of Piena. There was no Yid there. Took him to a faraway, the next closest Yiddish place is a town of Hadich. And it was just a small little shtet, there was nothing. There was nothing in Hadich. But there was a Yiddish Beis HaChaim there. That's where he was buried. Lamaisa, his son, the Mitzel Rebbe, his oldest son, who became the Rebbe after him, he had sent before to prepare a place for them to live. And he was not there by the Histalkus. And his Mitzel Rebbe later on wrote a letter. He penned a letter, a long, long letter, which from that letter we know most of what happened, what occurred on the trip. And he explains how his father had told him on the trip a few times how he could see clearly that Napoleon is a real serious klippa, and he's an evil man, and he explained it Api Kabbalah, what level Napoleon is in klippa, and he hates him with tachlis hasina, and therefore he felt that whatever you have to do to fight Napoleon. This was a.
It's really the Askala movement.
So, anyways, we're getting back to our story. The Shofar was that David Sabgi was bringing up was that Rosh Hashanah that year. The Alter Rebbe, the Tzaddikim decided that what's going to make it or break it is whichever Rebbe is going to blow Shofar first. Shofar is the beginning of the year. That's Poyel. All the Hamshach is for the whole year. So if you want to win this war, whichever Rebbe is going to have his kavanis and be Mekayim first, that's what's going to win. The Maisa, I think they say it was the Kajus Magid, the others say it was a different, it was the Rimnever. The Maisa, the daven early, that made an early minyan, to daven early, as soon as you could daven by Vesikin. But the Alter Rebbe took the shofar, and before davening blew the shofar. And he already then he heard, and it came to Tkiyah shofar. The other Rebbe, the Kodesh Magid, said the Litvak Hakadvonen. The heard that the Alter Rebbe already went. He beat him, and he got him. That was the Meister the Chassidim Talamer. Anyways, so the Poyel we blow twice. The Gemara says La'arav Vasatan. This is the Indian that according to certain Rishonim Yikumadayik, that's mitzad a chivuv mitzvah, so that the Satan loses his footing from that. So the Maisa, so those are the three reasons why we're blowing the shofar in Elul. Smach leminig zeh, a hint for this minig is what it says in Tehillim, Tiku b'chodesh shofar. The mashmal at koyach elishon says Tiku b'chodesh shofar. Usually we taish Tiku b'chodesh shofar. You should blow on Reish Chodesh, meaning Rosh Hashanah the shofar. Rosh Hashanah is Chodesh. But the remez is Tiku b'chodesh shofar. It doesn't say Reish Chodesh. It's b'chodesh. Blow during the month of Elul b'chodesh the shofar. The mixes mekoimis in some places noyegim litkoyegam be'erev achatfil, even in the evening after davening, which I think means after mincha. Of a Medina's Elul ein noyeng in these countries we don't do it, but I think there are some kehillas that do after mincha, if I'm not mistaken. Anyone not aware? But I think there are some kehillas that do after mincha. Maybe Swedish kehillas they do after mincha.
They don't blow the whole month.
We don't blow.
No,
Whole month, nah.
they don't b'chla have this minute.
They do slichas. They do slichas.
What
What
they do,
We start to
Well, you
they do
Slichas?
slichas the whole month.
Right.
They do
They take a little bit
slichas
longer. They take a
This is
little
the whole inyan of the Aboyim Yom, the whole inyan of the Elul, the 40 days. It's to say slichas for 40 days. Yesh mekoimis, there are some places shenoigin lahaschil litkoyem miyim aleph to Rish Chodesh. Sif beis. Some have the minute to start not only from the first day of Rish Chodesh, Lamed Av. This year fell out on the Shabbos. Why? The reason for this minig says that in Nehemiah, in Nehemiah de Bravna, v'chein bedin, it makes a lot of sense you should do it this way. Why? Ki hoisa takboy hoisa takonas rishonim utkoyim. This day, Lamed Av, that was when the original takana, the rishonim, the early ones, was to blow. Kisha'ala Moshe bahar, b'Rish Chodesh Elul avidas shofar b'machna. Moshe Allah hash leyitu a'oida chavid kichavim. In Pirkei de Eliezer, the early Medrash explains as clearly. This is the earliest source for the concept of blowing shofar in Elul. It's not about the entire Elul. It's about mentions that blowing shofar on the Chodesh Elul, because Moshe Rabbeinu went up on the Chodesh Elul. What day did he go up? On Aleph the Rish Chodesh, on Lamed Av. Because Elul's only 29 days. It's not a full month. It's only 20. It's a Chodesh Chassid. It's missing because Av was full Lamed, so the next month is Chassid. Most months go 1 month Malay Chassid and a pattern, except for 2 months Cheshvan and Kislev. All the rest of the year is in an order, a pattern. So Av was Shalom was 30 days. Elul is 29 days. 29 plus 10 days of of Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur is 39 days. You're missing a day, 40 days. He went up for 40 days. It was the first day Rish Chodesh that he went up, Moshe. Now, since he was going up on the Har, Lamaisa, there was a chash again that the first time Moshe went up, Klal Yisrael made a mistake as to what day he's going to come back down, and they said he didn't come down. We need a new Moshe, so they made the Egel. So now they want to make sure that no one got confused. So they blew a shofar so the whole machne, the whole encampment should hear Moshe Ol Har. Moshe went up to the mountain now, and now you know when to make the cheshbonos. Don't make any mistakes. Shalayitu oid acha avodas kichavim. They should not stumble and make a mistake after avodas kichavim. Kibarishon, like the first time, shetol becheshbon. But also Egel, they made a mistake in the calculations and made the Egel. And the Tehillim, it explains HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nis'ala ba'is shofar. That shofar was Poyel Shenemar Ol Elikim Yisroa. Hashem was lifted up and praised to that Teruah that was on the first day of Chodesh. So this is the earliest source, Pirkei de Eliezer, from the Tanoim, the Eliezer, that his Medrash that you should blow shofar, but not the entire month, but on this day, the first day. Al Kain is Chinu Chazal, therefore Chazal enacted Shiyu Toikim Boi B'chol Shana V'Shana. Every year you should blow on that day to remember that. That was the first day of Rish Chodesh. So based on the Pirkei de Eliezer, you start the first day of Rish Chodesh. So it's not connected to the other reasons. Why we blow through all the whole month of Elul? There are 3 reasons we mentioned. That people should do tshuva throughout the Elul, to remind you of tshuva, to reminding the Satan of his day of death, his mavis. He gets confused, he blows a shofar. As well, we blow the entire month, the Satan gets confused when is Rosh Hashanah. That has nothing to do that we should blow dafka on the first day of Rosh Chodesh. The first day, but it says the Divin Nehemiah, there are those that have a minute to start on the first day of Rosh Chodesh, and it makes sense. Because based on the Pirkei de Belezer, that's the real takana. That's not just like a minig. That's a minig which is mentioned already in Pirkei de Belezer to blow on the first day. So that's really the time that we should do it. Lopayali says the Nehemiah that that's not the minig. Prevalent minig is not that way, and for some reason they don't blow on the first day, and that's taka our minig that we don't blow on the first day. Only in the second day of Rosh Chodesh they start on Aleph Elul. In the place where he lived in Russia, that was the minig also. Aga, by the way, he was a businessman. The Nehemiah de Brabant was a businessman. He was not the former Rav in the city. He manufactured talesim, and he had a company to make talesim. And he wrote, I'm remembering who it was, one of the Go'inim, he wrote to him discussing and learning, and he asked, he wanted to know who is this manufacturer of talesim that's such a big Go'in. Because he didn't have a formal position of a Rosh Hashiva or a Rav.
Our meaning is by the first day only to practice.
Not below.
Not to blow.
There are those that are meyash of the minig. They answer the minig that you don't have to blow on the first day. However, says the Divin Nehemiah, that's not the ikr. When you have a minig and you have a way to explain the minig, you leave the minig be. But if you're coming to a new place where there's no minig, don't keep to that minig if the minig is based on timing which are weak reasoning. So he says, of a makim chadash, you arrive at a new place, there's no minig yet, and you come to a new place, you don't have to keep the minig hamakim where you come from. You can create a new minig. So create the minig, you should start on the first day of Rosh Chodesh. L'maisa the minig, Akapanam I know by Chabad and other kehillas, they don't blow on the first day of Rosh Chodesh. Even though it's a makom chadash in America, but the minig is still that way, to do only the second day. He has a long pilpul in the bottom, very long pilpul, to explain his point, why he feels that in a new place you should go to the first. He is not like the answers to explain the minig to do on the second day of Chodesh. He feels he should start on the first day. The point is an interesting thing in Minhagi Chabad. The Frierdiker Lubavitcher Rebbe wrote that the minig in Chabad is that on the first day of Chodesh, Toikin L'Slamed, you practice blowing. So it's difficult to understand what do you mean practice blowing. I mean, in Kamuvin you have to practice blowing. You don't make a minig out of practicing. If you don't know how to blow, practice. So it's not a minig to open the tissue boxes before Shabbos. You have to open up the tissue boxes. It's not a minig. It says you should open a minig. You should. So I was thinking to myself that today that maybe the Indian is that to be yoitz of the shita that the Divin Nehemiah is bringing, the Pirkei de Belezer, that the shita that you should blow on the day before. So he's not being kaveh as a formal minig. Taking the slamed, you practice, and when you practice, you yoitz that shita also. So you weren't going against the minig. You still kept to the minig of that. Really, the day you're starting is the next day. But by the practicing already, you were also yoitz the other shita.
The practice was at davening?
No, Lamai said not everyone hears it.
Yeah.
Maybe when you're practicing, you membalbel the Satan more. That's the first failure.
But remember, the first day of Chodesh is not mitzad the confusing the Satan. It's to remember that Moshe went up in the Har that day. That there was the first day of the 40 days.
You see, they wouldn't blow anyway because it was Shabbos.
Oh. So Ma'isa, someone pointed out to me today, I discussing this with someone, and they said he told me, that actually the Rebbe himself in a Sicha discussed this in 1982, Tavshin Beis, he discussed this idea, and Itaka says that Bapashtos, that's the reason for why his father said this minig. But he says, you could also learn a different pshat, and this is more api chsidis shat, and he said like this, that we say in Torah, one of the klolim that we're doirish in Shmuel Omer, we say every day in the beginning of davening, there's a concept of klal, prat, and klal. We have a klal, a general rule. We go specific, and then we go back, and there's a general rule again. This is one of the klolim in Torah. So he says over here, we also have like a klal, prat, and klal. We have the whole Elul, we blow shofar. We don't just blow one sound. We blow a few sounds. Rosh Hashanah, we blow a lot of, all 100 different types of sound, all different types of sounds, 100 times. We culminate all the blowing of the shofars. The last time we hear the shofar of the year is Motzei Yom Kippur. We blow one simple sound. And the Shulchan Aruch explains this, it's a sign that the Shechina is going back up. Siluk HaShechina, and the pasuk says in Tehillim, Ola Alekim, so Hashem ascends with the sound of the Tkiya. So the Rebbe said, Api Chassidus, a deeper look, not Api Halacha, that we end off with a klal, with a simple sound. The simple Shema, Hashem Alekim, and we cry out to Hashem without all the differentiations. On Rosh Hashanah, we have all these different types. We're trying every different method. Comes the ending, it's a last final cry out to Hashem. We cry out to Hashem that we should have a good year and He should save us, and Hashem Alekim. It's a simple sound, that's it. It's not, even the shofar itself is the most simple of sounds. But within the shofar itself is the tkiya, is the pashit, and there's no differences. So similar, we begin with a toikin lislamid. We begin, so that's the klal at the ending, the prat in the middle of Elul Rosh Hashanah. And in the beginning we have also a klal. We have a day where we start off with a pashit, so lislamid. It's only when people start off blowing, you don't blow off properly. You start to blow koilos. That's the beginning when we start our return to Hashem. We have our ker, our first turn. There's the klal. We have that toikin lislamid. And then we start getting into all the pratim and the details. We have Elul, and then we get into Rosh Hashanah. And the ending, we go back to the klal. We have the simple sound of the etzem and the shama crying out to Hashem. That's Api Chassidus. But Pashtus, he says, the vart is maybe to be yoytz of this shita that is brought over here.
In days of the old, they blow Shofar and Shabbos also?
On Rosh Hashanah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. When there was a Beis HaMikdash, and not only that, there were shitas which held, the Rif, the Yitzchak al-Fasi from the early Rishonim held that anywhere where there's a Bezdin, which is Samuch, Ish, Mipish, from Moshe, has smicha all the way back from Moshe Rabbeinu, can trace back their smicha to Moshe Rabbeinu, that Bezdin, wherever they are, you can blow shofar where that Bezdin is, even on Shabbos. And that's what he did in his Bezdin, the Rif's Bezdin. He had to blow shofar in the Bezdin. So whoever wanted to hear shofar on Shabbos can go there. But nowhere else could blow. And besides for that, it was only in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, the blowing of the shofar. Now, Be'erev Rosh Hashanah, in Toikin, Erev Rosh Hashanah we don't blow. V'chein B'layla Shabbat as well, the evening before we don't blow. Kedei lahafsik, two reasons for this. Kedei lahafsik when tkiyas the minhagel, tkiyas the rice. We want to make a clear differentiation between tkiyas which are only a minig and the tkiyas which are min ha-Torah, Rosh Hashanah. There's a differentiation, so there's a day in between that we don't blow. This is minig and a Torah. Don't get confused. People say, I missed the day of Elul, I can miss the day of Rosh Hashanah. No, this is not the same. This is Elul, and this is a V'gam, another reason, K'dei la'arav ha-Satan, to confuse the Satan. Sheyizber, you should think, Shekvar Ava Rosh Hashanah already passed. Oh, they stopped blowing. They didn't finish their Avodah. So, he has nothing more to be Mekatrig. So therefore, Al-Kain, it's clear one should not blow. Afilu Beisei Islam, not even to practice at home. Abal Tekeya, who's in his house privately, should not blow. However, he adds in Ki'im B'chei Sagar, only in a closed room. A closed room in your house. This comes from Achronim, who say in a closed room or in a mikveh. I don't understand the inyan. The Satan doesn't see what's going on in the room. I don't know what the inyan is. I don't understand it. What's pshat in a closed room and a mikveh? So I asked one Rav years ago, and he told me, no one's there. In the mikveh, who's there after hours? There's no one there, so it's a private, secluded place. But I don't know what it has to do with the Satan punkt.
Satan doesn't go to the mikveh, that's why.
It could be more for the pointing out. It could be it helps more for the first reason, maybe. The first reason to say the differentiation between minig and the raisa. So, what happens if you want to practice? So I'm not going to get confused. Yeah, people maybe can get confused. What's the raisa minig? But I'm going to do it privately and practice in a private location. So then, like that time, I understand that you could do it in a private place where no one is there. So then you can blow. Lamaisa, there is different minhagim in Elul how to blow. Some just blow tashrat, tkiya, shvarim, trua, tkiya. Just tashrat, 4 sounds. The meaning in Chabad, and I think also in Satmar, I think, they blow 10 sounds. Tashrat, tashat, tarat, a full, what? Vav also. So there are certain kilos, most kilos don't, they just blow tashrat. But there are a few kilos that blow all the 10 sounds, all the different types of combinations of tashrat, tashat, tkiya, sham, tkiya, and tarat, tkiya, trua, tkiya. Because there's a lot of tufts here, tkiya, trua, so we switch it for the reish, tarat, tkiya, trua, tkiya. The reish stands for is really the tough. Now, there are other menhagim in Elul. We start saying the David Hashem Oidi. We started to say the first day of Elul already. As well, there's a minig to say 3 kapitlach of Tehillim every day. Alabez Gimel from the first day, the second day of Shchodesh, not the first day. And that culminates with Yom Kippur, when throughout Yom Kippur davening, one also sends Chabad another 9 kapitlach every davening to Ne'ilah. By Ne'ilah, at the ending of Ne'ilah, you finish the entire Tehillim. So from the beginning of Elul till the ending of Yom Kippur, you finish Tehillim one time as an extra union of Tefillah and Bakosha. Is there any other minhagim?
According to the Araf Falaji, we say to David Uri, all month, let's take all the mekatrigim from this person.
So actually, Davar Hashemaydi we continue saying until Hoshana Rabbah. Because ultimately, Hoshana Rabbah is the last day, the final day. Hoshana Rabbah means the great salvation, the great Yeshua. It's the final day that we to get our good sealed for a good year. It's the ending of Sukkot. Sukkot is a continuation. People, it's not just that we have all these Yom Tovim and just happen to be bunched together. They're all connected with each other. And Kippur is a continuation of Rosh Hashanah. And Sukkot is also a hemshech, that we're celebrating our tshuva. The Medrash says that when we go out with a lulav and esrog in the street, it's a sign of Didan Notzach, that we won. We won over the Satan. And the last day of doing lulav and esrog is Hoshana Rabbah. And that's why we do a lot of extra tefillas on Hoshana Rabbah to affect the final things, and we clap the Ishanas on the floor and everything. That's the day we used to do finish the Davar Hashemaydi, and also those people that didn't get lekach, they get lekach on the Hoshana Rabbah because it's the whole get the sweet cake because this is the final. The apple, people eat an apple and they stay up all night learning Tehillim, Mishnah Torah, just to finish off all the Yom, and then one goes into Simchas Torah with the simcha that Hashem totally forgave him.
So go to the Pesach Norris.
Hoshana Rabbah? Erev Rosh Hashanah. Erev Rosh Hashanah is the inyan to go to the cemetery. It's a famous Maisa with a chassid of Shmuel Munkis, was a chassid of Alter Rebbe, who was on a very high madrega, but he hid his high madrega in playfulness, different jesting, but the embassy was a very high madrega. Anyways, there was a many interesting episodes with him, funny stories with him. One of the stories to say about him, he was in a certain town where he lived. There came a Maggid, a roving preacher, came to town, and he came and he said that he has this and this qualifications, so they should let him speak. So they announced in town that this Maggid is going to speak, and he's going to be Deutsch. So all the men and women, the women used to come also to the drasha. The women came, and everyone came to the town to hear. There were simple folk. The villages are full of a lot of simple folk. And they came to the town, and this preacher, the Maggid, got up there and he was telling them how bad they are and how they're sinful. And Shmuel Munkes was listening. He didn't really like this. He didn't seem to him that this person was preaching with such a great tzaddik, and he didn't like the way he was putting everyone down. So when he was telling them how they're all going to burn, and you're going to get Gehenim, and you're going to get for this Aveda and that Aveda, and he didn't like, and he's screaming at them till the whole place was crying, and especially from the Vaibish, the Ezes Nashim was really wailing was happening over there. A lot of tears. So anyways, at the ending of the drasha, it was very exhausted. The Maggid had to retire to a room on the side. So then Shmuel Munkes, after he closed the door, Shmuel Munkes opened up the door, and he walked in the door, he closed the door behind him. He took out a chalif. A chalif was used to shech the behemoth. It's called a chalif. So, I was one time heard from an older sheikhet, someone came to learn by him, to get a Kabbalah for shechita by him. So he called the chalif, what is the knife for shechita is called a chalif, he called it a knife. The sheikhet looked at him, he says, you're going to go get Kabbalah? Everyone, if you're a sheikhet, you have to know this is called a chalif. You're not going to give you Kabbalah. You don't even know what it's called. Anyways, so he took out a chalif and he starts to sharpen it by the door. It's a little strange episode over here. So the Maggid says a little nervously, what are you doing over there? He says, nothing, I'm just sharpening. So he says, no, tell me what you want. And he said that every Erev Rosh Hashanah, it's an important minhag to go to the cave of a tzaddik, to daven by the cave of a tzaddik, and we don't have any in this town, any tzaddik, and he continues sharpening. So the Maggid says, so what does that have to do with me? He said, well, you're from what I heard from your drasha today, you're from the greatest tzaddikim around, the greatest tzaddikim of the dirt. So I couldn't think of a better tzaddik to have in this city. He keeps on sharpening the chalif, and the Maggid's very, very nervous over here. So he says, I did some Avedis, I'm not such a big tzaddik, I did this and this. So he said to him, you're such a onav, we know you're a real big tzaddik and everything, and he continues weiter, sharpening. He's getting very, very nervous. He says, no, I did these Avedis. He said, that's klein Avedalach, that's little Avedis. To us, you're such a tzaddik, it's nothing. And continued on and on until he got him to say that no, he did these terrible Avedis, and he was portraying himself like being a tzaddik. So that's what Shmuel saw in him. He was able to see that he wasn't a Roy Tedmanish Klal Yisrael. So Lamaisa, after he said everything, he told him, you shake it the best. He said to him, he put away the chalif, he said, you run out of this place, I don't want to ever see you here again, and don't ever tell of Klal Yisrael in this manner. That was a story
The story got around, obviously.
The Shul Munkes' stories were passed down very. There's even today they have a little book in English with collections of the stories of the Shul Munkes. Lamaisa, just to Messiah, there are Rosh Tevis, the different Svarim, Rishonim, and already Rishonim have pointed out, and the Budaham and other Rishonim have pointed out already that there are many different Rosh Tevis for the word Elul. Word Elul had many different Ramazim in it, hence. The most famous in it, one is the Pasuk in Shir HaShirim, Ani l'doidi v'doidi li, I am to my beloved, meaning I, Klal Yisrael, to my beloved Hashem, v'doidi li, and my beloved is to me. That is a relationship that we have in Elul. Another Rosh Tevis is the Ina l'yodei v'samti lach, which is said by Ari Miklat. which is a remes to Torah. Torah is a Ari Miklat, a city of refuge, a person learning Torah. It says Divrei Torah Kultin, Divrei Torah save a person, like a Ari Miklat saved the person who killed by accident. Furthermore, there's a Rosh Tevis.
What's the pasuk?
Ino liyadai v'samti loch. It's a pasuk by Ari Miklat. Cities of refuge. And then there's another one, Es lavavcha v'slavav, which is referring to tshuva. Another, they all brought down a big svarim of Rishayim and early Achrayim. Another Shetavus is Ashira la Hashem by Yomer Leimer, which refers to the inyan of the Geula, Oz Yashir. Another one is the inyan of we say in Matanas of Yoinim in Megillah, Ish l're'ehu Matanas of Yoinim. The inyan that you should give more tzedakah by the Elul affect the Shabbat. Anyway, it should be a good Chodesh, a good